We are ready to begin. And I'd like to thank you all for coming today. Walanin, KCN, Nawisman Ben Grignon, Waqnahwew Naataanii, Mawam Totam, Shik Kayash Mamachikaw, Nish Mamachaseo. My name is Ben Grignon. I'm one of the We the People's Before Education Fellows. And I'd like to welcome you all to this panel. This is our Culture Bearers panel, and I'd like to welcome these two fine women here, Ehlers and TahNibaa Naataanii. And I was asked to help moderate this discussion and really give the respect and time to these two fine leaders. The CSA, the Community Spirit Award, goes to culture bearers in our nations, people who are well respected among our people across the nations. And as a teacher of the traditional arts, I really look to these artists to help direct how we move forward in education, to give us guidance, to give us their knowledge, their strength, their wisdom, to help us teach our young ones and to keep this tradition going. So I'd like to say Walanin for coming and presenting and speaking with us today. I'll start with Anna. Anna Ehlers is Tlingit. She does chilkat weaving, and she's from Juneau, Alaska. Jacqueline Johnson was your nominator. And Jacqueline said that your work has enlivened the Alaskan Native art world. She has risen the standard of this invaluable art form by her contributions to her tribal society and art world in general. She has enriched all who come in contact with her. TahNibaa, Dr. Robert Hill was your nominator. Dr. Robert Hill is the professor emeritus at the University of Georgia. And he said that TahNibaa stands out as a quintessential model of someone who carries and thus diffuses cultural values and traits. She is a community animator, art practitioner, and cultural ambassador. It's pretty amazing. I've seen some of their work here, and I really look forward to sharing this conversation with both of them. Maybe I would hand this off and have you do your introductions.
Good afternoon, everyone. Shaya TahNibaa Naataanii Hawasana Enshne Doma Edeshkishni Ebashishchin Nake Diné Deshche Dotsana Billy Deshnala Le Bistahas Kanda Eyanasha. Hello everyone, my name is TahNibaa Naataanii and I represent the Mini Hogan clan, and I'm born for the Coyote Pass clan. My maternal grandparents are the Mexican clan, and paternal grandparents are the Steep Rock clan, and I'm a weaver from the Navajo Nation, and I'm honored to be here today.
Hi there, I'm Anna Ehlers, and I'm from Juneau, Alaska. I'm descended from the Chilkat Valley in Klukwan. My mother is from the Whale House, the famous Whale House, and she's woodworm from the Whale House, and Grignon. My father is Killer Whale, and he's from Killer Whale Fin House, also in Klukwan, just a stone's throw from my mom's house. And I have taught 225 people the art of chilkat weaving since 1984.
So the first question that we have for you is, how does your practice impact your community? There's a couple of parts to this question. Do you pass on knowledge to others, and why is that important? I can repeat it for you if you need to.
Yes. Well, right now, for me as a weaver out in Navajo country, I am we have a lot of challenges in Indian country to begin with. We have our young kids that are looking at iPads, cell phones. They're looking at the internet, social media, and a lot of the teachings from home, it's challenged so great. And this Navajo weaving that I'm practicing, that is my life way. I'm also a rancher. I raise sheep, and my way with, as being a rancher, I take the sheep to different grazing areas in the summertime where my grandparents herded sheep. And that practice among our Navajo families and our children, it's not there, it's not seen because of our people. A lot of our people have migrated to the towns. I live in the desert, and I'm very lucky to say that I take my sheep to where my paternal grandparents, where they herded sheep, where they walked and had their life. So I serve as an ambassador to my community, and I help our children to see that Navajo weaving is not just grandmother's art. It's not just being a sheep herder and having a boring job, but the Navajo weaving, it encompasses many, many teachings. And one of the teachings that helps us is the counting, is the mathematics. So when I'm asked how, the importance of the transmission, I could speak an hour, 2 hours on many aspects. But the beauty of Navajo weaving, when you begin it, there's a meditative energy. There's a very spiritual energy that comes to the weaver and the vertical loom. And the reason I believe that energy develops is because when our Navajo weaving was made for our people, it was made with extreme delicacy, with the sky in mind. It represents the top of the weaving. With the Mother Earth represents the bottom of the loom. The warps going up and down represents our life. There's many, many representations of the universe in our Navajo weaving. So when our children are out there in the community, and there's so many different distractions, so when they come to Navajo weaving, it helps them to focus. It calms them down. We live in such a fast-paced world that this weaving, hand spinning, working with the wool. I've taken some wool, sheep wool. I was asked to speak at a women's shelter, and to help break the ice, I gave a piece of the wool to every participant, whether they were weavers or not. And they were able to tease the wool out and just feel the fire. And that made a very calm setting. So with the Navajo weaving, I believe that's what is needed for a lot of our kids to help continue this way of life. When you start herding sheep, it's quiet out there. And you start looking at the ground. You start looking at the plants. So there's many, many teachings that will help our kids become grounded with that.
Question again?
Sure. 1 second. How does your practice impact your community? Do you pass on knowledge to others, and why is that important?
Well, Chilkat weaving is an expression of ourselves. The blankets we wear, the tunics, the headdress, the bibs, the aprons, the designs on those weavings represent who we are, whether you're an eagle, a raven, you're from one of the land clans, the frog, the bear, or an air creature, an eagle, or a raven, or a water creature, the killer whale. And the designs on our blankets represent who we are. It says who we are. Our tribe is matrilineal. You follow your mother's clan. And if you're a raven, such as I am, you marry an eagle, which is the opposite clan. And so that the whole clan identification prevented intermarriage. And so we're talking about the impact of the designs that we have. What we wear says who we are. And like my dad, I've got a killer whale tunic which I made for my father. And so when people see that, they know he's from Chilkat Valley, he's from Cluckwan, he's from the killer whale fin house. And I made my mother a woodworm blanket. Actually, my friend Donald made a replication copy of the Chilkat blanket in this gold bracelet. The art, we go out and collect the yellow cedar bark from the woods in the springtime. And we take a knife with us and we go to the south end of the tree. We go to the south end of the tree, we make a cut at the bottom, about 8 inches wide, 10 inches wide, depends on the dimensions of the tree. And we make a U-cut, and you take leather gloves and you run with it. And then you can feel when it's starting to get towards the top, and then you make a leap. And you'll get sometimes a 20-foot strip of yellow cedar bark, but we only take one strip off of the tree. The American Indians were the first ecologists. Most tribes just take what they need from, our resources, then it'll always be there. And then in 2 or 3 years, you can go back to that same tree and harvest again. And when we harvest the yellow cedar bark, is 2 weeks after the herring are done spawning. As soon as they're done spawning, it's time to go out, and Mother Nature was just so generous with us, so we had time to collect our food in the springtime, and then right after all that was, the herring were done spawning, and that was all ready for winter, then we go out and collect the yellow cedar bark. You take a knife and you cut along where the outer bark and the inner bark meets, and then you make a cut and then you split with even pressure on both sides, like a banana peel. And the outer bark we leave out in the woods, and then the inner bark we bring home, the inner cambium layer. That's smooth, we bring that home and we cure that in water. And that is mixed with the mountain goat wool. And the mountain goat hunters have always provided me with the hides. From the very beginning, Tony Williams up, from Haynes. He came to Jenny Connaught, who was my teacher. She was 92 when I started with her. She was my father's mother's best friend. She was in Cluckwan. So every time she came to Juneau, she stayed with my grandmother. And so I watched her doing Chilkat blanket weaving when I was tiny. The first time I saw a Chilkat blanket, and my memory was when I was 4 years old, and Alaska was made a state in 1959 when I was 4 years old. So when they had the 4th of July parade, my uncle, Roy Brown, was in the parade and he wore a Chilkat blanket. I was on the sidelines. I saw that blanket and I told myself, I'm going to do that when I grow up. And I didn't tell anybody for 20 years. But Jenny Connaught took me in, to her home. I watched her weaving as a child, but it takes many mountain goats and a lot of yellow cedar bark. We take the yellow cedar bark and we boil it and we get most of the sap out of it so we can spin it with the wool. So we use 2 strands of wool and 2 strands of yellow cedar bark, and we spin it together on our thigh. And it takes probably 4 to 5 months to spin enough warp for a regular sized Chilkat blanket. And I got a call from the Department of Natural Resources and Fish and Game. And the fellow Fish and Game, he said, he was in Douglas, and he said, I was looking up at Mount Roberts, and he said, I saw a mountain goat. I watched that mountain goat, through the winter, and then in the springtime, an avalanche took that mountain goat down, and he watched the eagles feast on that mountain goat for a couple, 2-3 weeks, and then when it was safe, the avalanche was, danger was over. He went and he got that mountain goat hide, and he brought it to me, so I could make my Chilkat weaving. But I taught 325 people over the years, since 1984 I've been teaching. And so we've made the society richer that way. There's times that it was hard to leave my family, travel to teach the spinning, then the weaving, but it's paid off in the end. If you ever look at YouTube, you can look at Celebration online, Celebration 22, and see Alaska puts on a large gathering. About 2,000 natives from around Alaska come and dance and talk about their culture, because there's so many different societies. But Celebration is always online, and you can see a lot of the Chilkat weavings on there, which I myself have done. And when the Museum of American Indian opened, and I was going to come for that, and it just got too busy, In the summer times when we pick berries and we harvest and smoke salmon, so I was like, I just can't take time off. And when the Smithsonian magazine came out from that that opening, 4 of my meetings were in that procession, so I was there, without physically being there. Thank you.
Wow, man, thank you. We had a few more questions, but I really would like to get into your art. Maybe talking a little bit about what you brought and what's on the screen. So maybe we could take some time and do that.
Oh, okay, let's see.
Oh, man. Would you like to start?
Oh,
Okay, I'd like to share with you when I started weaving. I started weaving when I was about the age of 7. I came home from school, I was in the 2nd grade, And my mom said, today you're going to learn how to weave. And at that time, we were living in the town out in Arizona. We hadn't moved to the desert yet. And I had friends that I would play with after school. And then I would also watch cartoons. I would watch Scooby-Doo. Some of you might remember that. I'd play with friends, and then I would watch TV, but my mom said, today you're going to learn how to weave first. After you weave, maybe an hour, 2 hours, then you can go play with your friends, and then go watch TV. So that's how the weaving, she started teaching me how to weave. Prior to that, however, my Navajo name was given to me by my paternal grandmother. We visit her in Tualina, New Mexico, and she was carding wool using hand carders and carding Navajo Shiro sheep. The wool was reddish color, kind of similar to what you see here with this weaving. this red here, we call that dark chocolate brown reddish color, and it's a very prized weaving, prized color. Only a few people who are sheep ranchers can have that color in their sheep. Somehow, mysteriously, it stays within certain people, certain ranchers, that color. So she was carding wool, and I came upon her project, and my mother and my aunties, they said, don't play with that, let that be. But my paternal grandmother said, no, let her play with that. I want her to be a weaver. And she said, I'm going to give her weaving, her name, is what she said. And I think my paternal grandmother, at that time, she was about, in 1972, she was probably about maybe mid-70s. And in her lifetime, she saw the transmission of the horse, using the horses to the wagons, to the first automobile coming into the community. So she might have been scared for me to think, my young grandchild, how much will weaving stay with her when she gets my age? Maybe she thought that. And to help that vision, she gave me my name of TahNibaa Naataanii. And in Navajo, that means coming into battle with weaving. So I believe my paternal grandmother is, what helped me to become a weaver. And throughout high school, I wove, and then after high school, I joined the military. I didn't weave for a while, and then I returned back to my weaving maybe about 25 years ago. And I started, but very differently, doing my weavings. And so, right now, out in Navajo country, what we're familiar with is regional patterns. The community of Navajo country is like 120 communities that's in New Mexico, Arizona, and Utah. So some of those communities have patterns named after them. And what I brought with me is a weaving that my aunt, my bishop, my father's younger sister, she made this weaving here, and this is called the two-ray veil. You can see the spirit line right here. The spirit line of this pattern right here. And that's very indicative of weavings that have a frame, a Navajo weaving, because we want the design in the weaving to travel into another weaving. We don't want it encase it. So that spirit line is right here. It's usually the main background color that leads out and then it goes back. So I got this from my aunt. And here is my hat, and then if you see, there's a spider right there. And we believe that the deities, Spider-Man and Spider-Woman, they came to our people and they gave us the gift of weaving. So I honor that by having a pin. And this weaving here is my mom's weaving, which her name is TahNibaa Naataanii. And again, you can see the spirit line right here. And it's geometric, it's very symmetrical, and this is indicative of some of the weavings back home. And this weaving here is the beginning of how I'm here. This is my first weaving at age 7. I first started out with stripes, and then I graduated to doing diamonds, and then I graduated to doing squares, vertical interlock. And you can see it's, it's a child's weaving. There's a lot of teaching in here and a lot of memory that I have of my mom sitting behind me, telling me which shed to open up. And this weaving here, this is like an encyclopedia here. This weaving has about, I haven't counted, but I think it's about 15, 19 different twill weaves on here. My mother, Sarah, is a teacher, and she doesn't teach as much anymore. But this was her specialty. This is twill weaving, and this is an upper level weaving. This is like when you think of arithmetic, when you think of mathematics. This here, this weaving here is like, maybe it's like mathematics, just like adding and subtracting. And, this also is like adding and subtracting. But when you get into division or calculus, algebra, statistics, this is physics, this is it here. So this is a very high-level weaving. So my mother says to us daughters, I always hear kids say, my grandparents were weavers, but they never taught me. She said, I don't want you to say that. And there's going to be proof. I'm going to make you instructions so you cannot say that after I leave. And this is one way how we can transfer knowledge to our community, to our young kids. So I like this method of counting the works and putting it on a paper so that we can keep that, so that we can tell our own story of our weaving to our family, but also to our community. One of the, I have a big task, I feel like, because now, because of the changes in my community, and then just the struggles with climate change. As a weaver, I have to find another way of raising sheep sustainably, because I use some of that wool in my weavings. So, and I like my granddaughter. I'm a grandmother, and my granddaughter is a year and a half. I would like her to be standing here, 25 years, 30 years from now, to be able to say, I too am a weaver, and my grandmother wove this way, and I'm now teaching it. So we all collectively, whether we're Navajo, whether I believe we're Tlingit, whether we're non-Navajo, if you purchase a weaving, if you know about a weaving, you will help tell that story. You will help inspire a Navajo person, or even a person from Alaska, from Tlingit, to remember, hey, my people are weavers. I need to learn how to weave. So that's a little story about my work as a weaver. I raise Navajo heritage breed Chiro sheep. And right now they're in the mountains, in the Chuska Mountains, out in Navajo country. And we'll be going up there, on Monday or Tuesday to check on our hired hand and the sheep. We shear the sheep also. In the fall time, I'm going to be washing the wool, and then shortly after that, and now I'm also carding and spinning. And when you start doing that, I tell young weavers, be prepared, because first when you start touching that wool, when you start spinning, you allow your mind to start learning how to weave. You're gonna becoming, just like you're dating first, and then you're gonna get engaged. Then next thing you know, you're gonna get married. Next thing you know, that's all you want to do. And for my passion, I have found is my weaving. I have a studio at home, and I don't work 8 hours a day. I work many, many hours a day to produce my weavings, and it doesn't feel like laborious work to me. It's so gratifying. It's so meditative. And sometimes I'm so tired at night that I just want to hurry up and go to sleep and get rested so the next day I can continue on the project. And I never found a job like that. I've had many other jobs, and I thank my ancestors, my mother, my grandmother, my grandfathers, of all of the struggles they went through, but they still held on to the weaving. They still held on to the knowledge, so that today, in 2022, I'm here and I can talk about the weaving, and I can share the beauty of it. I can share the magic of it, the spirituality of it. And that's just a little story about my work with as being a weaver.
Did you have a question?
No, just.
Whatever you want to share.
Yeah.
I also forgot to mention that my teacher, Jenny Panat, she was 92 when I started with her, and I wanted to leave with her 20 years previously. But, I had children and a job and bought a house, and all I could do to keep making house payments. But I told you about my uncle, Roy Brown, that was in the parade wearing the choke-out blanket, and he had a carved headdress on called the shaquettes, which had ermine going down the back. And after that parade, he went over to Congress, and he was the first Alaska Native to testify before Congress regarding the Alaska Native land claims. And he had started in his 20s to gather all the Alaska Native Brotherhood and Alaska Native Sisterhood, and tell them, we're going to get an attorney, and every camp had to pay $200 a month, to keep an attorney over fighting for the land claims. So he went over to Congress, and then when he came back, he was coming off the Pan Am plane in Juneau, and he had on the headdress and the choke-out blanket, and it's in the Juneau Empire archives. And as a result of his testimony, well, besides the fact that oil was found up in Prudhoe Bay, Richard Nixon signed the Alaska Land Claims Settlement Act. So all the Alaska Natives got to get remunerated, for the land. And so our blankets say who we are and where we're from. For instance, Austin Hammond, he was Chief Dunlop from Chilkoot Lake outside Haines. he had a Chilkat blanket and he went to the government and it's a sockeye blanket, and he told them, this is the story of where we're from and this is our land, and the government gave them land at Chilkoot Lake, and that's where they have the Chilkoot culture camp for the youth. And Jackie Johnson is the main facilitator of that. So our blankets say who we are, and it's not our ownership of the land, it's where we're from. Even though, it is our land, essentially we sprang from that land and from that water. But up above, I think you see, what I have here is a killer whale, and my friend Will Burkhart from Sitka designed this, and actually it's a carving design, and the actual weed is 8 feet wide and 7 feet high, and I put a black border around it because Clip 1 carvings are bold, they're really bold. And so it's a profile of a killer whale in the water. And it took me 2 years, 8,000 hours to weave, and much longer to spin all the wool. But when I was all done weaving, I looked up, killer whale, in the Britannica, and the actual newborn killer whale is 7 feet long when it's born and 400 pounds. And from the head to the tail of this, it's 7 feet wide. So, unbeknownst to me, I made it the actual size of a newborn killer whale. So that was a lot of fun. It was way more work than I expected it would be.
You want me to go to the next one?
Pardon me?
I can go to the next one.
Yes. And what we have here is the brown twins of Star Hill. And it's in the middle. You see it looks like a snail at the top above the heads. That's the woodworm. And then the woodworm comes down the side of the faces. See the face? And the woodworm is what eats the holes in, on beach. On wood, and on the sides, either side of the black and gold border, is a raven looking towards itself, and so it is actually the woodworm above the head that comes down and around, and then underneath the raven's head is the body of the woodworm, and then you see the foot. And then the foot of the raven is shared with the woodworm. And then the hands come towards each other. So that's actually the brown twins of Star Hill. I made that in memory of my twin sister. And the work that I have actually is Donald Gregory made this, the exact replica of this when I won the United States Artist Award. $50,000 award in the inaugural year in 2006. You can pass this around if you want. Okay, next slide, please. This is my daughter, Alexis, Ashley Ehlers. And in the background is the beginning of the Chilkat Mountains. She's wearing a killer whale headdress. And the killer whale headdress, I made it 7 pieces. And it's the first Chilkat weaving that's made into a sculpture. You can see at the right, at the bottom, is the tail of the killer whale. And just above Alexis's forehead, it's the killer whale head, And in the eye above, it's got 24 karat gold wire. And then the dorsal, the fins are red silk that I got in Tokyo when I was working there. I got the red, black, yellow, and blue silk when I was in Tokyo working. And then the dorsal fin at top, it has 14 karat gold medallions on either side. So it's got, I think it's got 4 pieces of gold medallions that are carved, and then the 24 karat gold wire. And it took me a long time to figure out how to use the gold wire. I talked to jewelers over the decades, and I started practicing with copper, and I had copper warp on a simple loom, crossbeam loom, and then and then I used thinner copper to weave, and the longer I wove with it, the harder the copper got. So I made a couple of plain pieces with that, and then I started with silver, and I finally ordered 24 karat gold wire, which is, it's the perfect vehicle for making chokat weavings. It's expensive, and it shines in the sun just like the silk. Next picture, please. On the left is my daughter, Alexis Ashley Ehlers. She's wearing the killer whale blanket that I made for my father. We're at the Mendenhall Glacier in Juneau, Alaska, and I am wearing the raven and woodworm blankets on the right. Kulea Sejuni flew out on behalf of First Peoples Fund and took this photo. And everywhere I go, this is it's like the most iconic photo. But right there is over 3 years worth of work. Thank you.
Inspiring. I was thinking about the mathematics that you both had mentioned. One of my students, I work with a lot of special needs students, and one of them I was trying to teach how to use counting. And he was having a hard time getting, he'd get up to 7 and then he'd revert back. And it wasn't until we started, he was really into powwow music. So I put some powwow music on and he got the rhythm. And he was ready to go, and he made that whole weaving. It was so beautiful. So it's really great to have that mathematical background in indigenous art, and how well that we can draw from that, from our arts to teach our mathematics. So I appreciate that, my man. 10 minutes left? Okay. Does anybody have a question that they? Right over here.
I'd like to ask you about the rope. You just went over the rope?
Yeah.
Is that a rope? Could you tell us about that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I didn't get this rope, yeah. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to mention this piece here that I brought. And this is a rope that my mother has made. And this is a tension rope. This is what we use to provide the tension on a Navajo loom. Nowadays, people will use either wire or cotton rope, clothesline rope, or they'll use turnbuckles. They're very innovative with their loom. But I was taught to always represent your loom, dress your loom traditionally, the way it was made for us, and don't use other items. So this here is hand-spun wool. It's also mohair, goat wool, mixed with sheep wool. And it's dyed. The brown that you see is from black walnut. And then the yellow that you see is from yellow onion skin. And it's a circular braid, and I'll pass it around so you can see it. It's a circular braid, and my grandfather was a horseman, and a lot of our people out in Navajo country years ago were horse people. We have come from a horse culture. So a lot of the bridles, saddle blankets, ropes, they were made by hand, and this is one of them. I believe my mother Sarah is revived this technique, and now you do see a lot of people in our agency, in Northern Agency, making ropes like that. And you also, there's like a revival now also. When I talk about being an ambassador, it's very important that our community, our kids see us that no matter whether I'm dressed traditional with a skirt or with my hair in a hair bun, I can still be a weaver. And that persona of grandmother or grandfather's art begins to disappear. And that's my role in my community, and it's kind of how I understand it. But yeah, so just if you, in your kitchen, we experiment with dyes like coffee grounds, purple onion skin, the black beans. Of course, there's other plants like wild carrot. There's other plants like Navajo tea or kota or sagebrush or cedar leaves or the mistletoe. There's many different plants that we can get colors from. Any other question?
Did you say that takes a year to make? That shawl, how long does it take you?
The blankets over a year. It'll take maybe 4 or 5 months to prepare the yellow cedar bark and spin it with the wool. And if my daughter or daughter or son or my son is really fast at splitting the yellow cedar bark. The cedar bark, when we get it, it can be a 1/4 inch thick, and it could be up to 20 feet long. And then we cook it, we cure it with water, and then once we have it cured, we take a knife and we split it down the middle, and we split it with even pressure on both sides. And if it starts to get thick on one side, even it out with the other side. You have to use really even pressure on both sides. And we get it down to paper thin. And then once it's paper thin, then we make a split with the knife, and then use your finger and just pull it down. And then we get a table pole. It takes days to do a table pole. And my children and Jackie Johnson's children, they come over, and the 4 of them have asked for my kids to play out. And I have a bowl of cedar bark, and I say, well, when you finish splitting that cedar bark, you can go play out. So Jackie Johnson's 4 kids would come in and split bark. All the neighborhood kids knew how to split bark. And after you have a table full, you take it and you wrap it around your hand. And you make hanks, bundles. And at one point, like 20 years later, my kids had a big table full like that. And I said, okay, you ready to do the hanks? And they said, do you want volume or do you want hanks? And I said, just give me volume. So then you let it dry, you keep turning it over on the table on newspapers. And until it's completely dry, you just keep spreading it out. Just like the way we dry seaweed, And after it's completely dry, we just store it in paper bags, and you never store it in plastic because it could mildew in there if it's not 100% dry. So after having tables full of split yellow cedar bark, and then my daughter and I, we spin the wool on our thigh. And then one time we did it for like 5 months, and my daughter about killed me. But I had enough for 3 years of weaving. So it's labor intensive, but it's labor intensive, but it's very rewarding. The yellow cedar bark, what the yellow cedar bark does is it gives the wool body. It gives it strength and body, and it moth-proofs this, because moths don't like cedar. So you see, I study blankets all over the country. I go to museums and go into the archives and the vaults, and you'll see blankets that have like a, like this maybe a 6-inch square of just yellow cedar bark. It looks like, looks like a cane, because the moths will, if they do get to it, they'll eat the wool. They'll lay their eggs in the wool, but they won't eat the cedar bark. And I was working on Mountain Goat with my sister-in-law, Dorothy Jackson. My brother's Nathan Jackson. We're down at Ketchikan, and we were, taking the guard hairs out of the wool, out of her what she had, and then, I went back to Gina for 5 weeks. She put it away, and then when I came back, she opened her bag, and a whole bunch of moths flew out. And I'm like, you have to really be careful. You really have to care for your mountain goat once you get it. I was in the Juneau airport, and this Caucasian guy comes along, real slight fellow, and he says, "You want to go?" And I was like, well, actually, I'm going to LA right now. And he said, "No, do you want a mountain goat?" And, the goat hunters, they always think of me, because I've been doing it for so long. And Dwayne Wilson up in Haines, he calls me at 5 in the morning, and he says, "Hey, I'm going to go get you a mountain goat." And I said, "Okay, Dwayne, thanks a lot." He called me at 7, he said, "I got your goat." So he ran up the mountain, straight up that mountain, and got me a goat. But the fellows my age are all getting, past it. I'm 67 now, so they're all starting to get past it. And, as she was saying, a lot of the youngsters are interested, in participating in our arts and crafts as much now as the old days. So at one time, Jackie Johnson's kids, they wanted to weave, and so I set up 10 looms in my family room, and 10 teenagers came over and were making weaving. And then the sun came out, which rarely happens in southeast or in the rainforest. And so I did I said, "Okay, we'll just whatever movies you want to watch, we'll do movies." And they all finished their weavings that day because they wanted to go out in the sun. So I can get the kids enthused. Well, I do it for free. I get all the materials ready and everything. And, it's a blessing that I can get the children over to my place. And the younger, the better.
One question. One more question. Here we go.
I don't use my phone at all.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay? So my question is, just to make sure I have the story correct, well, 2 questions. The first one is your meetings are plant-based, right? Like from tree bark?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. And then my second question is, how do you dye the materials to make it like a white color or like the blue or the gold colors?
Oh, the white is, the white is natural,
Natural?
and we use, I've worked Chilkat Tlingit that's at the Sitka National Park. And she did that 40 years ago. And within 10 years, the lights above it were fading, the bleeding. And so for several years, I did work with natural dyes, with gosh, it just went out of my head. It's been so long since I did it. But I eventually started going in, like, this is good with natural dyes. But that's fading. I made this for my daughter when she was 6, and so this is 37 years old. And then it was really bright and vibrant. So I work with commercial, dyes now, because I want my grandchildren to see my work, and most of my works are in museums, and a lot of them are, private collections, all around, in Germany and France and Canada, and, all over the United States. But the ones that are in the museums that are made in Alaska, I just want them. I want them to be alive, so I use commercial dyes. That's just me. I'm a water girl. When I saw my sister-in-law's blanket fading, in 40 years, if you ever go to the National Park Service in Sitka, Alaska, you can see the difference between, the brilliant colors that I use. And for all the work that I do, I just want to even see the color in my lifetime.
Wow, we really appreciate you sharing your knowledge and your learned wisdom, and wanted to thank you for passing it on and sharing. Did either of you have any closing comments?
Ganashish means thank you in our tribe.
Thank you very much for coming and listening to us. What we have shared with you is what you also take out into your community, to your grandchildren, to students. And I'm very honored also to speak with our elder here, having him in the audience. Thank you very much for continuing and being an inspiration to me.
My hands are up to you for that type of weaving.
I just want to say that if you're ever interested in my work, my professional name is Anna Brown Ehlers, and there's like a zillion videos out on YouTube. You just look up Anna Brown Ehlers or Chilkat Weaver.
You have the master weaver, and can you give your name again too? Excuse me.
Sure. Yes, my name is TahNibaa Naataanii, and I believe it's probably on the First Peoples website.
On our website.
Yeah, or TahNibaa also. I go by TahNibaa Naataanii. But the correct way you say that is TahNibaa Naataanii.
Thank you.
Nakaani.
We appreciate it. And thank you all for coming. And please do visit the website. I believe these will be archived there.
They won't be posted right away, but we will be having videos and things available as part of our curriculum.
And the curriculum will be coming as well. So we'll be continuing this conversation over the next few years. And in the
Hopefully
future.
20 years.
Yeah.
20 years.
Okay. All right.